Welcome to the Wtf Show podcast from Bangkok, Thailand. Presented by Vimol Kogar. Tune in to get your dose of weekly verbal Red Bull.
Welcome one and all to the WTF Show. Today we have Simi from Umpire Legal, one of the lovely ladies we have on our show today. Say hello to Simi.
Hello everyone. Hello Kun Vimon. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you, Simi. Thank you for coming on to the show today. Tell me a little bit about your past.
I'm Simi. I'm from Bangkok, born and brought up here. And I have a background in law. That's where I've been, that's the profession I've been doing my whole life. And I'm working as a lawyer now, focusing on corporate law. I founded a firm called Umpire Legal, and I've also branched out doing a few different things and partnered with a few different companies, which I can tell you about during the course of this event.
So, Simi, you had a boarding school education in India, which is not uncommon for the Thai Indian community who've lived here for many generations. Tell me about your experience in boarding school in India.
All right. Well, to begin with, I really wanted to go there because I had a lot of cousins, older cousins who were already going to the boarding school there. Once I was in, I was happy. And then at some point, I wanted to come back. But I think just because I had already settled in and things were moving fine, I decided to just stay on and complete my education there in India. And that's the reason also when I had to do my university degree, I chose to do it here in Bangkok because I had been away for so long. My experience overall was all right, but if I had to send my kids now, I don't think I would.
Okay, so you decided at your during your youth to become a lawyer, and you went to law school in Thailand. What was your ambition? How did this come about? How did you decide one day that your career would be in law?
Well, I had been very influenced by movies because I very much enjoyed court scenes in movies. And I also had a few issues with estate and family when my grandfather passed away, which actually inspired me to go in to learn about the law. So initially, when I wanted to study law, I thought that I'd want to become a litigator, go to court, because that sounded a lot more interesting. And then during the course of my studies, I really enjoyed family and estate law, and I very much enjoyed criminal law. But somehow it didn't work out that way. When I started to look for a job, it was mostly corporate, in the corporate field. So I didn't really go into any other specific fields. I also thought about human rights law at one point, but that didn't work out either. Maybe sometime in the future. But for now, I'm focusing on corporate law and a little bit of family law as well.
So you started this firm from scratch. You are the founder of the firm, and you're a young, beautiful lass, and you decided that instead of joining the big Tilke and Gibbons, DLA Piper, Baker and McKenzie, you decided to go on your own. Isn't that a little ambitious?
Well, actually, I have been in one of those firms that you've mentioned before. I did an internship when I was at university at Tilke and Gibbons. I did work at Hunton and Williams, which is another multinational law firm. That was my first job. And I worked actually right directly with one of the influential partners in that firm. I got to see everything that you would experience in a corporate firm, from the late nights to the billable hours, just the whole experience itself. It was interesting, and I enjoyed the corporate legal work, which is what I still do now. But I realized that what I worked on was just a small piece of a very large puzzle. It was the kind of work for which you'd need a big legal team to complete, and I wasn't able to learn everything that I wanted to, like I would have been able to learn in a smaller firm. So after I worked in those big firms, I moved to smaller firms where I was actually able to touch on everything, and that's where I picked up on what I know now. And then that was when I decided I was ready. After managing, so I moved a few places, and then when I moved finally to the last place before I founded this company that I have now, I was managing the whole legal department. So that made me confident to start up on my own because I knew everything that I needed to know at that point. But I still realize now that every day is a learning process. I still come across new things that I learn on a daily basis.
Tell me a little bit about the struggles of having your own practice. What are your daily grinds?
decision making. That's one thing for sure, because a lot of the big decisions are left on you. How you handle decisions, sometimes you have to make decisions on behalf of clients. For example, if I'm representing somebody in a negotiation with the other party, I have to be in a position where I'm able to make decisions. So I have to do my homework and check with the client to see what is acceptable, what is not. Management of a team. I know that a lot of us are business owners here in the Indian community, Thai Indian community. But you've probably faced that as well, where managing the turnover rate is very high here amongst employees. So managing the team, keeping everybody together, making sure the team is strong, that is something that I've faced as a challenge, and I've had to learn from it. The balance, because I'm a businesswoman and I'm a mother of 2 now. So that's actually a big challenge that I face on a daily basis, which is to find a balance between work and family. This work from home culture that started since last year is fantastic, and it's a great advantage for me, especially because I just gave birth last year, and I have been working a lot from home ever since. But I do notice a big difference in the work of my team when I'm physically present in the office, because they're a lot more motivated when I'm there.
Right. So tell me a little bit about the type of law and the type of cases you handled. Like you said, is it litigation? Is it criminal? Is it... Tell me, are you more a solicitor? Are you a barrister? Do you go into court? Tell me a little bit about your daily schedule.
Sure. So I'm a corporate lawyer, which is not as fun as being a litigator because I don't go to court. There are 2 aspects to what I do. One is corporate work, which is registration of businesses, consultancy, contracts. I offer all kinds of services that are related to businesses. That's one aspect, right? So including licenses, visas, work permits, because a lot of my clients are foreigners. I do certification of documents because I'm also a notarial services attorney. That's one aspect, which I do mainly through my firm, Umpire Legal, because we're a corporate firm. But the other thing that I do, where I don't have any kind of company backing me, is I'm a mediator. That is under the Thai Arbitration Center. And as a mediator, I get to come across different types of disputes. It's out-of-court dispute resolution. So people aren't going to court for this. They're doing it. They're trying to resolve their disputes outside of court through mediation. And in this aspect, I get to do some family mediation, which means that when there's a family, like couples that separate, they have to come to an agreement in terms of finances, child custody, and related matters. So I help them to reach an agreement and come up with a settlement contract for that. And then we do follow-ups to make sure that they are keeping up with their words on this.
So, Simi, we are a youth empowerment podcast. We are a peer-to-peer support group. Tell me a little bit about your advice for young people out there who want to go into the legal profession. Is it challenging? Is there lots of money in it? Sort of give me a full circle on that.
I would say go for it. It's not as difficult as it is made out to be. If you have an interest in the legal field and you're not afraid of a little bit of hard work, then I'd definitely say to go for it. The legal practice is so wide, and you can choose any specific area that interests you, whether it's human rights law, corporate law, family law, or maritime law. There are undergraduate programs now offered in English language, which they did not have during my time. I had to do my degree in Thai language, and that too after spending 9 years in the Indian education system. As for the money aspect, it really depends on what you're doing. Every business is, there's some parts that may be more profitable. So if you're in the corporate world, it may not be as big as if you were a litigator, because I know of litigation firms that they charge heavily and they also get a big percentage of the amount that they win based on the court decision.
Like a contingency.
Yeah. But for me, it's more like a service. So I get a service fee and then I have billable hours depending on how the client engages me.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your struggles, trials and tribulations. The people out there, they just don't only want to hear about the good times. They want to know about how you navigated through the bad times. So maybe last year with COVID, and sometimes you have a hard-nosed client who you had some trouble with. So how do you handle that type of situation?
That's a really good question. So obviously in the workforce, we will meet many people with different personalities and experiences and expectations. If the client is difficult, it's important to first understand where this is coming from. In such cases, I would say that I go the extra mile to make sure that things are smooth and try my best to meet their expectations and satisfaction. The thing about my work is that it's not only up to me. Very often, we have to deal with government offices. We are the middle person between the client and a government office. Sometimes when we apply for licenses, just to give you an example, the government says it's going to take 3 months, but it ends up taking a year just because of how, I don't want to say inefficient, but sometimes it can be that way. So in that sense, we've had to deal with a few struggles because the client is constantly following up with us. They get frustrated with us. We have to deal with all kinds of, dissatisfactory comments from them, even bad Google reviews. Right. But we have to just kind of hang in there and keep pulling through and making sure that it is ongoing, making sure that they are aware that we are on top of it, taking care of it. And finally, when the outcome is exactly what the client wants, because we've been struggling and persisting, then we feel kind of triumph, Do
you feel sexual discrimination in the workplace?
I have encountered that before. I have to be honest, because sometimes when people come up to the office and they expect to see a man in his 40s or 50s, seeming like they've had 20, 30 years of work experience, and they're disappointed to see a young woman. So, yeah, I've actually had people that have commented, and then sometimes, in fact, people are rude. But I think now, because a lot of my work comes from, referrals. So now, because a lot of my work comes from referrals, people know what to expect. And they do have the respect for me because of the things that they hear.
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about where you see yourself in 5 years' time.
Well, ideally, I'd like to be at a beach and or just at the gym chilling on a weekday, because weekdays for me are so hectic. Actually, that's what I would like to be doing. And of course, also running a firm. I'd hope that in 5 years, my firm will be stable enough for me to be able to operate without having to micromanage it like I do now. I very much enjoy the work that I do, but it can be quite demanding. So I would also love to have the freedom to work from anywhere, as long as I have my laptop and my mobile phone on me. And of course, in some cases, I will still be present because I do enjoy it. I'm currently working on an expansion plan and hope to move into a bigger office and build a stronger team of lawyers in the next 2 to 5 years, possibly also having a presence in other cities in the country.
I'd like to know a little bit about what you would like to communicate to your children in terms of to build their EQ, and maybe to what type of advice you would give them as they grow older in terms of people skills, and maybe just the challenges that they will face. Because it seems that the new generation are facing bigger challenges than our generation. It just seems much more competitive. And we were talking earlier with another guest about the ROI on education. So by the end of your children's education, you would have spent maybe $500,000, and they will start their first job at, I don't know, a few $1,000s at tops, So I would like to know what you would explain to your kids about the challenges that they will face in the future.
Okay. Well, there are 2 aspects to it here as well. I have 2 girls. One aspect would be the part where they are girls and they're going to grow up to be women one day. I will try and give them the best education that I can, but I also need to make sure that they use it. So when they do graduate, whether it's from high school or university or even with a PhD, they need to make sure that they're not going to sit home. But I want them to be able to support themselves. Whether it's they don't need to go into any kind of special profession. They can have a job, they can have a career, they can have a business, but whatever it is, they need to be able to support themselves. Because I find that women today are very dependent on their men. And I don't want that for my girls. I want them to be self-sufficient. I want them to be independent. I want them to have the ability to make their own decisions. That's one aspect. And then the other aspect is more about the education system. I understand that schools are ridiculously expensive these days. And you don't always get what you're paying for. For me, it would be more about ensuring that my children are happy. And when they grow up as happy kids, then as adults, they are more fulfilled. In the past, people used to say that they wanted their children to be doctors or lawyers or engineers. We're over that now. They can be anything they want. They can do anything that they want. As long as they're happy, they feel fulfilled in their careers, they're able to make enough to support themselves and have a good life.
So what you're saying is that pursuit for money may not be the number one most important thing in the future.
I don't have millions of dollars to offer to them to have a good life. I don't. But I feel like that should not be the drive. They will have to learn to make money to be able to live comfortably. But the drive should be their passion. So whatever they are more passionate about should be what drives them to make money.
Excellent. I'm the luckiest host in the world because I have Simi Singhsachthep in front of me on the Wtf Show today. Before we go, a few things I'd like to leave for our audience. On Mondays, we've started our daily show lately. We have the WTF radio show with DJ Rico. On Tuesdays, we have the WTF investing show with Direk Kanijao. On Wednesday, we have a really fun show where you fake reading a book in a party. WTF Fake It Till You Make It show with Shruti Katari. We're filling up our days, so we will be, by June of this year, having a show every day for you at WTF Media. And we look forward to you Googling WTF and finding us in all the social media platforms. Thank you again, Simi, for joining the show. Before you go, I'd like to tell you about two things that you need to do for us. One is you would be welcome to nominate the next guest on the show.
All right.
So we use that as a way to expand the type of guests that we have. And also, I guess we would like to meet a new genre of people who can add to the show and give advice to our audience. And at the end of 2021, we will have the WTF Youth Awards, which you are welcome to join. Before we have our awards, you will be asked to nominate and vote for Youth of the Year aged between 20 to 30, who will contribute positively or has already contributed positively to our community. Now, before we leave, again, our show is Jobs, Jobs, Jobs. Young people out there who are, let's face it, a little bit mentally stressed. They graduated a couple of years ago and they cannot find their place, you know? And some of them are sitting in a Starbucks right now listening to our podcast, and you've now sort of set yourself up. You've got your small legal firm. You've got your nice family. What advice can you leave behind for our audience that would be lasting and help them steer through these unprecedented times?
Okay. So since we're talking about jobs, I would say that no job is too big or too small. You can start small, and that's how you make your way up. You start with the little things, and then you learn. You slowly move your way up. You grow, and then you reach a point where you feel like you're you've learned enough, then you can start your own business. Or otherwise, even if you're in the corporate field, you can make your way up and reach a point that will make you happy, reach a position that you're looking to do.
I'm going to ask you a Simon Sinek question, which is not what, but why. Why did you start the firm? What was your motivation? What was in your heart? What's the why, not the how?
Okay. Well, the why is actually a little bit contradicting to what I'm doing now, because why did I start my own firm? I wanted the time and independence. I wanted to be my own boss because I knew that eventually I was going to start a family. And so I wanted the flexibility. That's the word. I wanted the flexibility. But then at the same time, because I'm a business owner, that flexibility, there's no maternity leave for me. So that flexibility is there in the sense that I can probably put the kids to bed and then continue working without having to go into the office at all. That was what drove me to start the firm. And also to go on holidays whenever I wanted to without having to take only, because really under Thai law, you're only permitted a certain number of days of leave per year, which is ridiculous. And yeah.
Thank you so much. You have been an angel in the studio today, Simi, one of our most gracious and beautiful guests that we've had since.
Thank you very much, Kun Vimol, for having me.
I hope you enjoyed the show. I see a big smile on your face.
Yes, sure.
Okay, we hope to catch you again. We welcome you to the WTF show again soon. And we hope that Umpire Legal turns out to be bigger than Baker and McKenzie one day.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, goodbye, everyone.
That's it from the WTF Show. Vimol and the team from WTF Show would like to thank all our sponsors. Tune in next week for another great gig with people making a difference to your future. For advertising spots, go to the WTF Show IG page and get more info or contact Vimol at 6681 616 5987.